Tebow, and welcome to Studio 300 News. Today we have a segment on the Innocence Project. Imagine you were charged for a crime you had nothing to do with. You had to go before a jury in court, and even though you were telling the truth, you still had to be sent to jail. This is why the Innocence Project was created, to save people from spending many more years of their lives in jail for a crime they did not commit, away from their family and friends and job opportunities. The Innocence Project was formed in New York City in 1992 and dedicates their time to revisiting old cases with new technology like DNA testing and resolving them. They release victims who have spent years in jail for a crime they did not commit. The Innocence Project works to ensure that people have the freedom they need to reestablish their lives with their families and friends.
On account of the significant amount of innocent people which are inmates in jail, the tedious time spent on each case, the deficiency of resources dedicated to innocent trials, middle-class people need to strengthen support and donations towards the Innocence Program in order to allocate more resources to enhance the quality of the criminal justice system.
I'm here with Joe Tebow from the Illinois State Forensic Science Lab in downtown Chicago. He's going to talk to us today about the Innocence Project, which he's familiar with. So, Mr. Tebow, how do you think this program can improve?
Well, my understanding is the Innocence Project is primarily funded through individual donations and foundations. So ideally, if we could get some federal money or some state money to prolong this project, that would be the best way. Also, usually the best way to not have a need for an Innocence Project is to do a lot of the work up front. So the more transparency you have in the judicial process, whether it's through prosecution side, the defense attorney side, or through forensics, the better job, the better quality assurance processes you have, and the more transparency you have, the less need you'll have for an Innocence Project in the future.
And what can people do to help the project?
Well, as I suggested before, most of the money is individuals, foundations, and individual donations. So if we can, you can always talk to your representatives in your state or federally, U.S. senators, U.S. representatives, and try to ask them to give some more money to the Innocence Project to try to get people out of jail.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
According to Justin Scott from EBSCO Industries, after a conviction, it takes many years for an innocent person to be exonerated, and the process is very expensive. Resource constraints slow our work, so we're always seeking resources to work faster. In order to solve this problem, resources can be donated to further improve the program. The program as it stands now is very inefficient and can easily be improved with the help of other people. In addition to a deficiency of resources, a tedious amount of time is spent on each case. Executive Director of the Midwest Innocence Project, Oliver Burnett, informs the statistics of the amount of extensive time and money spent on each case. He also explains the overwhelming amount of cases on the waiting list. According to Justin Scott, on average, it takes 7 to 10 years to exonerate an innocent prisoner, at an average cost of $325,000. The Midwest Innocence Program is currently legislating 6 cases and has 600 cases on the waiting list. A report from the National Registry of Exonerations reveals 2014 as a record year, overturning 125 wrongful convictions in the United States. Lack of resources is a major reason why the cases are very slow to process. Donating to the program can speed up the process and save more people annually.
Although the Innocence Project contributes a tedious amount of time spent on each case, it changes people's lives for the better in the end. Lauren Kaisberg, a lawyer who worked in New York City, has worked with a few clients and was able to free them from years in prison. According to Mayor Chario, in 2015, 2 of her clients were exonerated and released after serving 29 and 21 years in prison, respectively. This past January, Kaisberg was honored to accompany another client as he walked free after 18 years in prison. By people dedicating their time and energy to these cases, it helps build jobs and release innocent people from jail. Fresh pairs of eyes help solve the case because the case needs to be looked at from every angle. However, the Innocence Project brings up some issues. The technology used may not always work to free the client and work in their favor for the case. DNA testing is not always worthwhile. A judge and/or jury would spend time on a case that may or may not prove the person on trial innocent. Also, after many years of not reviewing the case, evidence may be lost or destroyed. Witnesses would also be harder to use because after a certain amount of time, details in the story would be muddled and of no use to the lawyers. Evidence is not always available for the different cases and may be a waste of time if there is no way to help the client. According to Elizabeth Salme, not all prosecutors have been so helpful. In the program's early days, its attorneys were often told by prosecutors that evidence was not available. A person does not want their case to be revisited if the end result is going to be them living out their sentence in jail nonetheless. It is also a waste of time for the judge, the jury, and the lawyers to try and prove something that cannot be proved.
If the courts decide to rule against working on a revisited case because it is a waste of time, then the court could have had the opportunity to give freedom to a person who should have never been in jail in the first place. We believe that the Innocence Project is a big help in our society because, unfortunately, innocent mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, etc. are put into jail for crimes they did not commit. They lose time with their families and friends and now have their crime on their records for possible future employment. Parents lose time with their kids, and the Innocence Project cannot give them that time back. But they can give citizens the freedom to rebuild their lives and finally live again. You can help this program. Donate today to your local Innocence Project to help the citizens in your community. Thank you. Until next time on Studio 300 News, I'm Feeny Healy. Have a great day.